One of my all-time favorite games is making a return, Vindictus. This was one of the best hack and slash games of all time from over a decade ago, and I've sunk in hundreds and hundreds of hours into this. However, this has needed a much-needed refresher for quite some time, and NEXON is doing just that with a new entry called Vindictus Defying Fate. From what I've seen in the trailers, it looks absolutely beautiful, from the characters, to the combat, to the environments. It all really holds up well within Unreal Engine 5. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with Vindictus as the series now, it was an MMO, but unlike Final Fantasy XIV or say Terra, it was more a hack and slash beat 'em up game, almost like Monster Hunter, where you're like in a hub area, a certain town or wherever it may be, and then you would go out on certain quests to kill bosses or different enemies. And unlike other MMOs of the time where you're just standing there and using skills, waiting for cooldowns, it was very similar to a beat 'em up or even a Souls-like Dark Souls, where you're using light attacks, heavy attacks, dodging, using the environment, and so much more depending on what character that you chose. As good as all this was back in the day, unfortunately over time it began to sour, and the general consensus was that NEXON became way too greedy with pay for convenience, pay to win items, among other things. The grind became way too much near the end game, and then also things that used to be a challenge were just completely eliminated. Everything was nerfed, and now it was way too easy to just breeze through the game, and there was basically no challenge until the end, and then once you hit that wall, it was way too great. And then the biggest nail in the coffin, unfortunately for a lot of Korean MMOs out there, was the RNG factor of the game. You could go hundreds of runs of doing like a raid and not get anything of value. Then when you finally got a piece of equipment for yourself, enchanting it at higher levels could actually break that piece of equipment, and then having you to start from scratch all over again. With all of these combined, unfortunately, it was just too great for the game to handle, and it slowly died over time. That's probably why today, NEXON is trying to revive this series with Defying Fate. So what will this new game actually be doing to remedy some of those issues? Well, first off, from what we know, there is going to be a new ability system within this game, where you're going to have two separate skill trees. One is for your specific character that you are playing, and the other is an account-wide skill system that will boost all of your characters on your account. So with the shared tree that's applying to all your characters and increase stuff like flask capacity, your other consumables, stat boosts, and other just general abilities that'll make you progress your entire account so other characters will be easier to level. And then with the specific skill trees for the characters, that'll be more unlocking their exclusive skills. Now, on top of that, they're switching from a individual character leveling system from the previous game to an entire account-wide leveling system. So you're just leveling your account as a whole, giving you stats, instead of leveling individual characters, having to grind each one. And what's great about all these characters is that there's a new system entirely within Defying Fate, this follower system, where you can use your other characters as AI-controlled companions that help you out through these quests. So they can help with attacking enemies, reviving you, and other things, and then all of their stats are retained based on what your account has. So with those combined, it really reduces down the grind from the previous game, and also helps when you can't find other players to play with earlier content, because you can just use these followers instead. Then it looks like they're tackling the crafting and enhancing system as well. Before, with the previous game with crafting, it was more of a life skill that you had to grind, so grinding a whole bunch of garbage equipment to actually get to the good stuff. In this game, it looks like you just get blueprints from defeating certain bosses or doing missions, and then you can just craft the weapon right away, no having to grind for a life skill, as long as you have the materials for it. And then all of these blueprints, or the crafting unlocks, as they call it, will apply account-wide, so you don't have to obtain it on each and every character. It unlocks for all characters at once. And a neat addition to this in Defying Fate, it seems like any weapons that you craft for your characters, you can also use it as an appearance item, just in case you like that certain appearance of one weapon, but there's a better weapon for you to actually use stat-wise. And then for the weapon enhancement, the big problem from before would break your equipment. It seems like, at least currently, it's just straight up, if you have the materials, it just enhances. There's no RNG chance, there's no chance of breaking, it just straight up works according to this. But it does say that it's subject to change upon launch, so they might go back on that. Hopefully they do not. That's all I've seen on the main problems from the previous game that I've seen so far. There's other information about like smaller things, battle passes, other kinds of missions and chests and whatnot. But you can find all of this yourself in the devlogs on the Steam page or other websites that they post on. But the main thing that I want to talk about today actually is that you can try all of this for yourself right now with the current alpha test. So this started basically today and is going to last up until the 17th. And you can just enter. There's no like code that you need. You just need to go to Steam and download this demo. Not sure what it's going to actually release because they haven't announced it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be later this year or sometime in 2026. And with this alpha test, there's actually a good amount to be able to give a shot. There's the customization for the different characters. There's some story involved in the beginning of the game. And then also multiplayer, which was not in the last pre-alpha test. But unfortunately, for this part, there's only auto matchmaking, so you can't manually or specifically choose your friends to be able to party up with, as it's not implemented yet. Regardless of this, I think it'll be a great time to be able to play throughout the week. As for myself, I'll be multi-streaming it on both Twitch and Kick. The links will probably be down below. Yeah, as for my love of this game, I just am very happy to see it make a return in this way. But I still am a little skeptical because it is still made by NEXON. You saw all those problems before, and they've repeated those problems in other games. So I just really hope they don't meet the same fate with this one. Let me know if you guys are going to give this one a shot, and for those that played the original, if you see any promise in this new one. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.